Last week we talked about Nicodemus, and so this week we are sliding right through. I didn't even plan to do like a series on John. I'm not even sure if it's going to work out that way or not, but I decided to slide right from Jesus' story of Nicodemus into the next one, which is in John chapter 3, verse 22. So we're going to pick up where we left off, and I'm going to read from the Message. And I'd love it if you could just try to zone in and listen to what I'm saying, and then we're going to talk about it together. John chapter 3, I'm going to read in verse 22 from the Message translation. Just because I was originally going to go with ESV, and then I read it and I'm like, I'm going to have to spend a lot of time breaking down the word usage in here. And the Message is going to make it a little simpler for us to go straight from the text into processing what it means together. John chapter 3, verse 22 says this: after this conversation, with Nicodemus, Jesus went on with his disciples into the Judean countryside and relaxed with them there. I love that. Jesus relaxed. Some of you just needed to get on this Zoom just to hear that. Jesus relaxed, so can you. Okay, take a break. He was also baptizing. At the same time, John was baptizing over at Aenon near Salim, where water was abundant. This was before John was thrown into jail. John's disciples got into an argument with the establishment Jews over the nature of baptism. They came to John and said, "Rabbi, you know the one who was with you on the other side of the Jordan, the one you authorized with your witness? Well, he's now competing with us." Some religious competition. His church is bigger than ours. There's other people that are getting baptized over there. What do we do about it? There's a whole bunch of people following this other guy that you were talking about. What do you want us to do about it? He's baptizing. Everyone's going to him instead of us. John answered, "It's not possible for a person to succeed," I'm talking about eternal success, "without heaven's help. You yourselves were there when I made it public that I was not the Messiah, but simply the one sent ahead of him to get things ready. The one who gets the bride is, by definition, the bridegroom. And the bridegroom's friend, his best man, well, that's me." And in place at his side, where he can hear every word, is genuinely happy. How could he be jealous when he knows that the wedding is finished and the marriage is off to a good start? That's why my cup is running over. This is the assigned moment for him to move into the center while I slip off to the sidelines. This is where the title came from, baby. Vanishing act. This is where I sort of disappear off into the sidelines, what John says. The one who comes from above is head and shoulders over other messengers from God. The earthborn is earthbound and speaks earth language. The heavenborn is in a league of his own. He sets out the evidence of what he saw and heard in heaven. No one wants to deal with these facts, but anyone who examines this evidence will come to stake his life on this, that God himself is the truth. The one that God sent speaks God's words. And don't think he rations out the Spirit in bits and pieces. The Father loves the Son extravagantly. He turned everything over to him so he could give it away. A lavish distribution of gifts. That is why whoever accepts and trusts the Son gets in on everything, life complete and forever. And that is also why the person who avoids and distrusts the Son is in the dark and doesn't see life. All he experiences of God is darkness, and an angry darkness at that. I love that. John is sort of a big deal, right? He's a really big deal. In fact, people would say that they were followers of John, and he had an incredibly large following, tons of people that would go and show up to hear him speak and be baptized by him. He was a really big name prophet of God, and people were really happy to associate themselves with John. In fact, Jesus said that there was no better person born among women than John the Baptist. Jesus said, this is the greatest man to ever live, is the statement that he made about John the Baptist. It was sort of a big deal. Now, John the Baptist is speaking and preaching, and just imagine this whole career that he had and this following that he had and all these people that are coming around him. And now suddenly a number of those people are like disappearing, and they're going over to surround Jesus, and his followers come to him, and they're sort of making Jesus aware that a bunch of his people that were with him are now sort of going over to Jesus. And John the Baptist is like, I guess now it's my time to step aside. Like my job's done. Like, I no longer need to be the center of attention here. It was never about me. I was never the center of attention. It was always about Jesus. And now he's here. So now I can sort of drift off into the sidelines. Yesterday I was at a wedding, and I don't know about you, but when you sit down at a wedding, if you don't know some of the people at your table, and you're sort of getting to know the other people that sit down around the table with you, they're grabbing some appetizers, and you're sitting there with a drink, and so you ask a question like this. So how are you connected? Like, do you know the bride or the groom? Like, who are you connected to? Why are you here? Essentially, like, who are you connected to? And I just want you to imagine that you're sitting there and you ask someone at a wedding, so how are you connected to this wedding? And the person responds, I'm just a big fan of the best man. It's pretty weird, right? Like, nobody would say that. Like, I'm here because I sort of dig the best man. I think he's like really cool. And so I'm here to see the best man. I'm sure he's got an awesome speech, right? Nobody says that. Everybody goes, I'm here because I know the bride, or I'm here because I know the groom, or I'm a part of the family. It's something like that. And John the Baptist in this passage is saying that's sort of what it's like. Is my job is, it's not about me. Now, how many people say, like, I go to whatever church, or I'm a part of whatever network or movement because I think Bill is great, or Dave is great, or Rob is great, or Andre's great, or whatever. I just love the music by so-and-so. John the Baptist is just like, nah, you're not getting the point. Like, it's all about someone else. Like, all of us are pointing others to the one great, hero of the story, to the focal point of existence itself. Like, my job is to go look over there. That's what John the Baptist said, is like, I came to point the spotlight on Jesus, right? I can't even hold his sandals. He's greater than I am. Like, my job, my role was just to point at him. And in the same way, that's us, is that it's not about us. And John the Baptist really got that. Jesus showed up, he's like, cool, job's over. And in the same way, we're just going, it's not about you being impressed with me, or you being impressive, or you want to start some sort of micro church or make a difference in your community. And you want to feel like you're doing something great, you're doing a good job, and look at the job that I'm doing. And I want people to feel like I'm effective or successful or making a difference somewhere, or in work or life or family or whatever it is. And we think it's about us on some level. And John the Baptist is just going, it's like, not that I am not, this wedding is not about me, right? Like, everyone's here for the bride and the groom. They're not here for the best man. And my job is simply to point you to Jesus. I want you to delight in someone else. I want us together to celebrate someone else. I want us together to be surprised and enraptured and captivated by someone else, by something else that's so much bigger and greater and beyond us. I think some of you have maybe heard this story, but I can't shake it, because it was sort of it was a wild moment where a number of people who led church movements, pretty large, some of these pretty large church movements with hundreds of churches. Okay. So you picture these leaders coming together, sitting in a circle where they feel like they're making some sort of big difference, because they've got hundreds of churches that they're in charge of, that they're overseeing, maybe all over the country. All these people sitting in a circle with hundreds of churches they're responsible for. And we're all sitting there in this circle together. And a guy walks over to me and he said, "Hey, do you know that guy over there?" And it was this sort of like short, like older guy who was very quiet, kind of sitting by himself in the circle, wasn't saying anything. Everyone else was talking. Everybody else had brilliant ideas that they wanted to share. They wanted everybody else to hear about their thoughts about how we could make a difference, how we could change the world, how we could send off all these new churches, how we could do all these missionary efforts and feed the homeless. And, we could, make an incredible difference in other countries where there's insane poverty or trafficking. We can make a difference with the addiction community. People are sharing these stories and saying we could start these new things. And this guy's quiet. He's just quietly sitting there saying nothing. And this guy goes, "You know who that guy is?" I'm pointing at him. I'm like, "No idea. Never seen him before. Like maybe he's the janitor at this place and just got lost. He's just sitting in a circle because he looks like he doesn't have anything to contribute, because he's not saying anything. He doesn't even have this like aura of confidence or swag about him. He's just sort of like humbly sitting there listening to everyone." And the guy said, "That's Ralph Moore." And I'm like, "Okay, whatever. I don't even know who Ralph Moore is." And he's like, "Ralph Moore, 2,400 churches have come out of his church. He's started 2,400 churches." And some of these people who had church movements that were like 100, 200 churches, 300 churches, this guy out of his church, it's not like he's a denominational leader, just a church planter, that every single person that was a part of his church thought that they potentially could start a church. And so he ended up with 2,400 churches that started out of his church. But he's sitting there all like quiet and humble and like not making a big deal about himself, not saying anything. And this guy said, "That's what Ralph likes to do. He likes to come into gatherings like this and listen to everyone else and not say anything. And then like he'll pull a person aside and ask questions. And then usually people just ignore him or write him off or think that he like doesn't have anything to say because he doesn't sound that dynamic. He just seems really normal or average or regular." And then Ralph will just like walk away after everyone sort of blows him off. But that guy legitimately is the only person in the United States who's seen legitimate movement with 2,400 churches on the level of like the Chinese underground church or what's happening in Iran. But he's sort of invisible. He's like a ninja, like behind the scenes. And he doesn't even want to be noticed or recognized. That's what he loves to do. So that night, I had the privilege of sitting with Ralph and two other people at the table at a pub. And it's like 10 o'clock at night. Ralph's sitting there. He's about 70 years old, planted 2,400 churches, and he pulls out a note tablet and he's asking us questions and taking notes from us. And we're all like, "Dude, You've done it. Why are you listening to us? Like, you're the expert here. You're the brilliant, sage, wise man here. But part of the brilliance of Ralph Moore is his humility. His humility. He was not impressed with himself. He did not want to show off. He did not want to talk about his accomplishments. He did not want to be the center of attention, but he was a perpetual learner. He just wanted to learn and learn more and discover and understand and pick other people's brains and continue to write on his notepad and keep taking notes and keep learning and keep understanding. But he didn't even need anyone to know what he had done or accomplished. John the Baptist says, he must increase, I must decrease. It's not about my name or my reputation. Think about what Paul said. I'm the chief of sinners. I'm the least worthy to be called an apostle. God resists what? The proud, but gives grace to the humble. God raises up the humble. The last will be first, and the first will be last. There's something about arrogance, self-promotion, cockiness, wanting to make a name for ourselves and how big we are and how effective we are and how important we are and how loved we are and how liked we are and how good we're doing that we have within us. And it's insidious. Most of us don't even recognize that we're dealing with it unless we walk away and then we're feeling sort of blah because we feel like other people might not like us, because our whole focus in whatever environment we were in was ourselves. We walk away thinking about how other people perceive us or what other people think of us rather than how are they? How can I bless them? How can I help them to live into their potential? How can I be a good friend to them? We walk away attaching every situation, every conversation to ourselves. As John the Baptist is going, he's got to increase. I got to decrease. My job is literally just to point a big old spotlight on Jesus and vanish, just disappear. If I can walk away and you go, man, Mike's awesome, I have failed miserably. And you're wrong, because I'm not. But if you walk away and go, Jesus is awesome, I feel more interested in Jesus after having been a part of that conversation. I feel more captivated by a God that is like that I want to be near to him. Then we've done our job. Our job is to point everyone to someone else that's more amazing than we could ever possibly describe or put down in words. When we took Addie to the concert a few weeks back, every time I go to a concert, I notice this. It's like you see worship. You see it with sports too, right? Everybody's wearing a jersey, got a name on the back. You just see worship. There's something within us that, like, we want to get caught up in the adoration and praise of someone else or something else, to the point where you watch people get emotional and like lose themselves at a concert, like, oh, oh, and they're like crying. They're like crying. Oh, they're here. Oh, they're like so excited and emotional over this artist or musician or political figure or whatever it is. People get all bent out of shape. Why? Because we're made to get really captivated and enthralled and full of worship over someone else. But that someone else is Jesus. No one else belongs on that pedestal but Jesus. And if you do it, whether it's some sort of celebrity, our culture does a lot of that, or a person, it could be a girlfriend, a boyfriend, a spouse, someone that we look up to, like a mentor, or whatever that is. Looking at anyone else apart from Jesus is just, you got your spotlight set in the wrong direction. You're looking to the wrong place and to the wrong person. Our goal is to sort of disappear and to lose the arrogance, the least in the kingdom. I love that. I love that Jesus says this. I referenced it earlier. No greater person has been born except for John the Baptist. Now, stop there. You're just like, woo, John, baby. That dude deserves a party. Like, Jesus gave him mad props. Jesus tweeted his name and went, best dude alive ever, right? John the Baptist, awesome. But then the twist is what he says next. But I tell you this, the one who is least in the kingdom of heaven is greater than him. What? What is Jesus saying? He's the greatest man who's ever lived. But I tell you this, the person who is in the kingdom, but they sort of cried out from the cross at the last minute, like, please remember me when you enter your kingdom. After dying as a thief, right? And in his final moments, the thief on the cross next to Jesus, remember me when you get into your kingdom. Jesus is like, that guy's above John the Baptist in the kingdom. And you're like, what? Are you kidding me? How is that feasible? How is that possible? And Jesus is saying this, it's not about John. It's not about the thief on the cross. It's about me delighting in my children and my children delighting in me. I've come to love you and for you to be loved by me and for us to enjoy each other. And I'm inviting you to invite others into that mutual enjoyment of relationship with the God who loves them. Just going, guys, like there is hope. There is healing. There is freedom. There is grace. There is purpose. There is satisfaction found in Jesus. And I'm just here to tell you about it so that you can find life in someone else, just like I have. And I don't have to be impressive. I don't have to sound amazing. I don't have to be effective. Everything I could do could not work and it would be okay. Everything I could attempt could be a total flop and it would be okay. I could be the thief on the cross, or I could be the greatest man who was ever born among women. And at the same time, Jesus would be like, cool, I love you. And there's something deeply peace-giving about that. It's like God gives us the freedom to attempt everything with no fear of failure, no fear of like having to succeed or rock it or nail it or have other people think that we're amazing. John the Baptist said, away with all of that. Your job is just to enjoy God and vanish. Point other people to the source of life. Jesus said, I am the way and the truth and the life. You know, unless you're connected to the vine, you wither up and die. Like, just eat my flesh and drink my blood because I am your life, right? Apart from me, you can do nothing. So just come to me. Like Arnold said, come to me if you want to live, right? You come to Jesus if you want to live. He's it. Without him, there's nothing. You can do nothing. So our job is just to invite people to walk with us as we all gaze at someone else who's just so fascinating and captivating and amazing. The other thing that does is it just eliminates all of us comparing ourselves to each other. You get to quit picking on each other. You get to quit analyzing each other. You get to quit comparing yourself to someone else to feel whether you're valuable or worthy. Jesus said, John the Baptist, the least is better than him. Meaning, stop comparing yourself to the person next to you, the other person in your community, the other person in your micro church. Your invitation is enjoy the grace that has been given to you, not because you earned it, as a gift, and invite other people to sit around the Christmas tree and open gifts and just revel and frolic and laugh and feast and drink and enjoy the goodness of God that has just been lavished down to you and dumped on you freely as a gift. It's not something you did or earned or obtained. It's something that was just given to you, that you and I are able to go, isn't it good that we can taste and see that God is good? Isn't it his grace amazing? I feel like I could attempt anything, try anything. Let's go out there and charge the hills and storm hell with a water pistol, because what do we have to lose? We're already loved and accepted in the beloved. And if it works or doesn't work, we're so-called effective or make a difference or not, it doesn't even matter, because we are secure as sons and daughters of God. We are loved by the Father. We are free as his children, who he just deeply enjoys our company. Just enjoys our company. Isn't that amazing? He must increase. I got to decrease. Have you found yourself caught up in trying to prove that you're being effective? Have you found yourself caught up in comparing yourself to other people? Have you found yourself caught up in beating yourself up or beating up other people based on good or bad performance, rather than just resting in the finished work of Jesus as he turns around and says, all of my perfect performance is now attributed to you. You are just perfect. Not because you did it, not because you achieved it, but because when he looks at you as just the perfect peach that you are, as a gift. His righteousness just clothed around you, just like the skins of the animal that were put on Adam and Eve by God, just like the garment that was put on the prodigal when he came back to the party. God just clothes you in this perfection as he gazes at you and goes, you're just perfect. I just love you. I just love you. You don't need to run around sewing fig leaves on, trying to prove that you got your crap together. God goes, I got your crap together. I did it for you. Just rest and enjoy, and pass the Tostitos, baby. Let's just enjoy this feast together as a beautiful, beloved family that's just sitting at this wedding feast, not looking at the best man, right? Not looking at the best man, but we're gazing at someone else who's just absolutely gaze-worthy and spectacular. So that's all I've got to say about that. I'm going to pray, and then we can have some further dialogue or Q&A if you so desire. God, I thank you so much for who you are. I feel such a weight off of me every time I think about this and read about John the Baptist, and just see this incredibly effective person that's just like, it's not about me. People, at the end of the day, here's the greatest man ever born in the history of the world. I mean, if Jesus says it, it has to be true. And yet we don't walk around going, blessed be the name of John, because it wasn't about John. It was about you, Jesus. And so help us all to decrease and to disappear and to run to the bottom of the ladder, not to the top, and to go invisible, to take on the invisibility cloak, to go full ninja for your kingdom, to just want other people to experience life and freedom in you, to understand the black hole of pride, that in our desire to make something of ourselves, to build our own Tower of Babel, to be impressive or big or awesome or on top, that it's just this bottomless pit of emptiness and depression and despair. And you've invited us into something so much better, which is to delight in yourself. You created us to walk with you right at the beginning, Adam and Eve and us, that we would walk with you and just enjoy walking with you in the garden, not having to say, look at all the stuff that I grew, Jesus. Look at how hard I've been working in the garden. You just enjoy the stroll You just enjoy our presence and you want us to enjoy your presence. And along the way, we get to play and create and have fun, but it's not about trying to prove our identity. We are your sons and daughters, made in your image, loved by you, and we are captivated by who you are and what you're like. And we're just so thankful that you love us and you like us. Send us out as people that are attempting things, not because we think that if we nail it, you're going to love us, but because we're already secure that you do love us. And because we're secure that you do love us, we can walk the trapeze. There's a massive net of your grace all underneath us. Thank you for your goodness. Thank you for your grace. Thank you for your love. Thank you for this sticky bun I can still taste in my teeth. I'll be chewing it all day. We love you. We'll talk to you later. Amen.